Something about today feels weighty, doesn't it? Not in a random way, but in a way that makes your heart notice. August 27 is not an ordinary day. It carries the energy of refining, of stripping away illusions so that only what is real remains. In the heavens, Venus in Leo stands opposite Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, pulling the heart into a confrontation with truth. Venus represents love-worth and what we value. Pluto represents power shadow and transformation. When they meet in tension, it's like fire touching metal. Everything false burns away, and what remains is only gold. The moon traveling through Scorpio adds to this intensity. Scorpio doesn't allow shallow feelings. It pushes us into depth, into honesty, into what lies beneath the surface. This is why today feels charged for many of us. You might sense old emotions resurfacing, sudden conflicts in relationships, or even a strange clarity about what you can no longer carry forward. Spiritually, it is a day of purification. The Bible describes this exact process in Zechariah 13:9. I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. Even beyond the stars, this date holds sacred resonance. Across the world, many celebrate Ganesh Chaturthi, a festival dedicated to removing obstacles. And that theme echoes perfectly with what heaven is already declaring: the barriers to your next chapter must fall. The patterns, fears, and attachments that once controlled you cannot come with you now. Today is a day of release, and the chosen ones are called to stand in that fire without fear. So if you've been feeling emotional turbulence, or if relationships and inner struggles seem to press on you more strongly than usual, it is not coincidence. It is alignment. Heaven is reminding you that refinement is part of your calling. And as you listen to this message, I want to invite you to claim it for yourself. Drop a comment below and write, I am refined and ready. This is your way of declaring that you are not running from the fire, you are allowing it to purify you. Stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to step deeper into this day's prophetic atmosphere and uncover why August 27 is not just another date on the calendar, it is a divine threshold, the energy of this day. August 27 carries an atmosphere that is impossible to ignore. In the heavens, Venus in Leo faces Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, a rare and heavy alignment that places the heart in direct confrontation with power shadow and truth. Venus, the planet of love, value, and beauty, speaks of what we cherish most deeply, while Pluto, even in retrograde, forces us to examine control, fear, and the hidden motives behind our attachments. This tension is like a refining fire. It reveals what is genuine and what has been false all along. The Scorpio Moon adds depth to this crucible, stirring emotions that cannot be pushed aside or ignored. It is no accident that many may feel emotionally raw, relationally tested, or pressed into decisions that expose hidden truths. Scripture speaks directly into this kind of season. Zechariah 13:9 declares, I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call on my name, and I will answer them. This is the essence of the energy surrounding August 27, a refining that removes impurity so what remains may call upon God with a truer voice. What may feel like pressure or disruption is not meant for your harm. It is meant to strip away what cannot stand in the presence of your divine assignment. This is why August 27 feels like a furnace for the chosen ones, not a place of destruction, but of purification. It is a day that does not let you stay in the illusion of comfort. It presses you into depth, forcing recognition of what is real. And it is here in this furnace of truth that the stage is set for decoding the frequency of this day more fully. Decode the frequency of the day. The frequency of August 27 is one of confrontation followed by release. When Venus in Leo opposes Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, it does more than create tension in the heavens. It mirrors a biblical principle that life and death, blessing and cursing, are set before us, demanding choice. Venus urges us to step into our true worth, while Pluto exposes the places where fear, control, or hidden attachments still hold power. The Scorpio Moon intensifies this by drawing buried emotions to the surface, making it difficult to pretend or suppress. Together, these alignments create a spiritual current that insists on truth. Scripture provides the same blueprint. John 12:24 says, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit." This is the resonance of today's alignment. Something must be surrendered in order for true fruitfulness to emerge. The day's festival context reinforces this message. In India, millions honor Lord Ganesha on this day, seeking the removal of obstacles and the clearing of karmic burdens. Though from another tradition it echoes the very principle the heavens are declaring, that what blocks your path must be released before your calling can advance. The frequency of this day is not random disruption, but sacred timing. It is heaven's way of saying this is the moment to let go. For the chosen ones, the message is clear. You cannot carry old weights into the new chapter. To resist is to remain bound, but to surrender is to step into freedom. With this understanding of the frequency that saturates August 27, we can now consider how this energy manifests personally and collectively, what actually happens to the chosen ones on a day like this. What happens to the chosen ones? When the sky holds this kind of intensity, the chosen ones feel it in tangible ways. The Venus-Pluto opposition presses directly on the heart, so many will notice emotions rising without warning. Old hurts may resurface not as punishment, but as a sign that they are ready to be released. Relationships may feel strained with unspoken truths, forcing their way into the open. Even the body can carry the weight of this day, fatigue, tension in the chest, or vivid dreams that linger with strange clarity. These are not coincidences. They are the marks of refinement working its way through the soul. The moon in Scorpio amplifies this process. Scorpio does not allow surface-level living, it demands honesty. This means the chosen ones may experience sharp moments of self-realization, sudden inner confrontations with pride, fear, or hidden motives. For some, it may feel like being stripped bare before God with nothing left to hide. But within that exposure is grace. Just as God refined Israel in the wilderness, removing idols and illusions so they could inherit the promise, so too does this day confront the chosen ones with what cannot continue into their future. Dream symbols and inner impressions may carry unusual weight today. Images of descent in renewal caves, broken idols' fire, or a lotus rising from mud may appear in the subconscious. These are heaven's parables reminding the chosen ones that death to the old is necessary for resurrection into the new. Though uncomfortable, these experiences are confirmation, not condemnation. They are signs that heaven is working, stripping away what is false, so the true identity can emerge. And it is in this very pressure that the deeper reminder of calling begins to shine through. Now that we see how this energy impacts the chosen ones, we can understand more clearly why this day is designed to remind you of your divine calling. Why this day reminds you of your calling. August 27 is not just about pressure, It is about recognition. The very reason heaven applies this refining fire is to remind you of who you are and why you were chosen. Scripture tells us of Nathanael, also known as Bartholomew, whose feast day falls close to this season. When Jesus first met him, he declared, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is nothing false." John 1:47. Nathanael was seen, known, and called in a single moment of encounter. What made him stand out was not status or power, but authenticity. This is the same principle at work in the Venus-Pluto opposition. Falsehoods are burned away so that the authentic soul can stand revealed before God. For the chosen ones, this day serves as a mirror. It shows you the difference between who you pretend to be and who you are in God's design. The struggle you feel, the stripping away of illusions, is not meant to break you, but to confirm you. Just as Jesus refined his disciples through testing so that their true faith could shine, so today's energies remind you that you were never called to live half-truths or diluted purpose. You were called to carry the weight of authenticity, even if it costs you comfort. This is why today feels so deeply tied to calling. Heaven is asking, will you let go of what is false so your true purpose can live? Will you embrace the refining fire as the pathway into clarity and fruitfulness? When you say yes to this question, you step into the same stream as every prophet, disciple, and saint who was press-tested and then sent into their assignment. But with such opportunity also comes danger. Where God brings refinement, the adversary brings resistance. That is why we must now look honestly at the shadow side of this day. The shadow side. Every refining day comes with its traps, and August 27 is no different. Where God seeks to burn away illusion, the enemy tempts us to cling to it. The Venus-Pluto opposition exposes what must change, but the shadow side is resistance choosing comfort over growth, control over surrender. Some may feel the urge to cling tightly to relationships, possessions, or identities that no longer serve their divine path. Others may respond to the Scorpio Moon's intensity with fear, secrecy, or vindictiveness. These are signs of resisting heaven's fire. Scripture shows us this pattern clearly. When Israel stood on the threshold of the promised land, fear overcame them, and they refused to enter. Their resistance delayed their destiny for an entire generation. Lot's wife turned back to the city God had called her to leave, and in doing so, she was frozen in place. The shadow side of August 27 is the temptation to look back, to idolize what is familiar, even when it is no longer blessed. For the chosen ones, this trap is subtle, but dangerous. Instead of stepping into refinement, you may find yourself making excuses, rationalizing why you must hold on to what God is asking you to release. You may even misinterpret the pressure as punishment, when in reality, it is preparation. To give in to this fear is to remain bound. To resist change is to miss the doorway heaven is opening. This is why discernment matters so deeply today. Recognizing the shadow allows you to choose differently. You do not need to turn back. You do not need to resist. You are called to move forward through the fire. And the way forward is not guesswork. Heaven always provides a way to align. That way is found in activation. The activation. If August 27th presses you with fire, then the response heaven seeks is not panic, but obedience. The Venus-Pluto opposition asks you to release illusions. The Scorpio Moon demands emotional honesty. This is the moment to step deliberately into spiritual practices that align you with heaven's refining work. Activation is not about doing more, but about agreeing with what God is already doing. Practically, this could mean setting aside quiet time today to let truth rise without distraction. Write down what you sense God calling you to release, whether it's fear, bitterness, or unhealthy attachments, and then commit it back to Him. Some may find symbolic action helpful, burning the paper, lighting a candle, or praying words of release aloud. These are not rituals of effort, but signs of surrender. They echo the principle of Psalm 51:17. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Heaven is not waiting for perfection, it is waiting for willingness. The presence of Ganesh Chaturthi on this day, though from another tradition, carries a parallel reminder: obstacles are meant to be removed, burdens lifted, and paths made clear. For the chosen ones, this is not coincidence. God often allows multiple voices in the world to echo the same truth, that release leads to freedom, and freedom opens the way for calling. So the activation today is simple but weighty. Choose surrender. Do not fight the fire. Step into it with trust, knowing it is purifying, not destroying. And in that place of surrender, the doorway to your next season will open. As this day unfolds, having chosen surrender and release, you will find yourself standing at a sacred threshold. And it is here we must turn to the closing moment of this journey. Closing threshold. As August 27 draws to its close, you may notice that something feels different, not because every struggle has disappeared, but because the weight of what no longer serves you has begun to fall away. This is the nature of a refining day. You end it lighter, clearer, and more aligned with the truth of who you are in God. The Venus-Pluto opposition does not leave us unchanged. It demands that something old die so that something true can rise. The Scorpio Moon ensures that this death is not superficial, but reaches into the deepest places of the heart. Scripture frames this moment as holy ground. John 12:24 reminds us that only when the grain falls into the earth and dies can it bear fruit. Today has been that fall, that burial, that sacred surrender. And now as the day turns, you stand at the threshold between death and resurrection, between what has ended and what is about to begin. This is not a place to rush through, but a place to pause with reverence. For the chosen ones, this threshold is the mark of readiness. Heaven has refined you. Obstacles have been cleared, and now you are positioned for fruitfulness that cannot be manufactured by effort. What you carry forward from here is no longer rooted in illusion, it is anchored in authenticity. Take this moment to breathe, to acknowledge the fire you have walked through, and to recognize that the very act of enduring it has marked you as chosen. The door behind you has closed. The way ahead is now open. As this day comes to a close, take a moment to let the stillness settle in you. What has been stirred, what has been released, what has been refined. These are not accidents, but part of a larger process that heaven is guiding. August 27 is not meant to leave you overwhelmed. It is meant to leave you aware. Aware of what no longer belongs, aware of the weight you don't have to carry, and aware of the quiet strength that comes from standing in truth. Scripture reminds us, the one who calls you is faithful, and he will do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. That means the refining you felt today is not the end. It is preparation for what God is bringing next. Carry this with you gently. Let it inform the way you move, the way you speak, and the way you listen to what rises in your spirit in the days ahead. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. It is enough to recognize that you are being shaped step by step for the path that is yours alone. If this message has spoken to you, I invite you to leave a comment with the words, "I am refined and ready," as your declaration of faith and alignment. Share this with someone who may need encouragement, and subscribe if you want to keep walking this path with us together. For now, rest in the peace that comes after the fire, knowing that the one who called you is still calling and will not leave you unfinished.